Welcome to CU Career TV. My name is Erin Lewis. I am the Assistant Director of the Center for Career and Professional Development here at Clarion University. Today we will be talking about 5 common resume mistakes and how you can avoid them. With me today I have Devin. He is a student here and has utilized the services at the Career Center to have his resume reviewed. When you came in, Devin, you had some problems with your resume. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, I feel like people aren't really taking my resume seriously. I mean, it might partly be because of my spelling or, you know, just the way that I word things in my resume.
Spelling, grammar, punctuation, all of those things are really important. The funny thing about resume writing is that when you put a ton of people in the room together, you can come out with a ton of different opinions about resume writing. But the thing about these 5 common mistakes is that we can all agree that they're really important to avoid, and spelling, grammar, and punctuation is definitely one of the #1 mistakes that most people make. So when you use your word processing tool to create your resume, use the things like spell check and grammar check, things that look for punctuation. And also in our Career Center, we are actually trained to look over your resume for those things. We know it doesn't come natural to everyone, and spelling can be very challenging, especially if English is not your first language. So on the graphic, you will see that there are some spelling mistakes and there's some typos. So it's really important for the readability of a resume to avoid having these common mistakes. They're very, very simple to avoid. Use your resources. Use things like the tools that you have access to help prevent the spelling, grammar, and punctuation mistakes. So Devin, we will get you set up with an appointment to meet with one of our expert staff members and get you on your way to a top-notch resume.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. I have a second guest, a very busy senior, and Tyree is applying for jobs and has been applying for jobs 20 minutes a day, which is great that you are taking time out of your schedule, you have it planned, you have it built in, but the problem is they're just not really responding to call you for interviews.
Correct. I'm making sure I've done everything correctly as far as resumes and stuff like that, but I just can't land anything. So.
And you know, sometimes it's really hard to figure out why you aren't getting calls back for an interview. There could be a lot of factors that weigh into that. But can you tell me a little bit about your resume? Are you sending the same exact resume to every single employer?
I mean, for the most part, yeah, I am, because I'm just trying to land a job and make sure my GPA and all of my extracurricular activities are on there. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you send the same resume to every single employer, that one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work very well for employers. In fact, Career Builder says that 79% of HR professionals can tell if your resume has been tailored and customized just for that company. Sometimes it can be as simple as maybe adding a pop of color to your resume that meets the brand of the company. Sometimes it could be adding in other unique and specialized words and a nice unique feel to that. So sending a one-size-fits-all resume is not any more fun than wearing a one-size-fits-all hat. Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I have a really small head, so it doesn't work. So when you can show that clear match between what you have to offer and what the employer is looking for, you will stand out in the crowd and the employer will be able to contact you. So you can't assume that an employer will know what skills or qualifications that you have. An example of that might be the job description asks for Excel, but you don't put Excel on your resume because you use it all the time and you sort of take for granted that all college students know how to use Microsoft Excel. But if they're looking for that specific skill or qualifications, then you might get overlooked. So find specific ways to highlight those skills, and that's one of the things we do really, really well in career development, so we can get you connected with an appointment to set up and to look at customizing and tailoring your resume for all of those different jobs.
I'll definitely stop by.
Awesome.
Thanks.
When I met Tyler, he talked about struggling with his resume and knowing what to put and how much is too much and how much is not enough. So you had an internship this summer, right? And you had some really positive experiences and you wanted to tell us all about it. So if we can take a peek at the graphic, we can kind of show your sample resume. So when Tyler came in, it was at first too much. You see there's a large chunk of text there. Really good information, but really hard to read. So we talked about sort of condensing it a little. Then it came in with only like 3 or 4 words for each bullet point. So you cut out all of that great information and great content. And so it was really, really just lacking information. And so what we did was we looked at combining that happy medium, right? Goldilocks and the 3 bears, just right. So the resume is not your autobiography. You have to remember that what is important are those skills that can be related to an employer. So one of the things that we talk a lot about doing is making sure that in the 20 to 30 seconds an employer can read your resume, that all of those key skills and key highlighted qualifications are very easy to read very quickly. And it really needs to pop. So an employer gets hundreds, sometimes even thousands of resumes for positions. We want to make sure that yours can stand out very quickly in the crowd and be read. So using those bullet point phrases, like the first resume had the big chunk of text, and the second resume was a little too condensed. So we wanted to use those bullet point phrases and focus on the leadership roles and quantify it with data and dollars and percentages and all of those things that you did in that third and final arrangement. And now you're getting calls for all kinds of internship interviews for your second field experiences, right?
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. Had a lot of people contact me, so.
That is exactly why we do what we do. So we are excited. Congratulations. When I first met Shakira, she was short on time and was a student really struggling to balance classes and internships and all that hard work. And she resulted in using a template to craft her resume. So come on up, Shakira. And it's my understanding when you went to the job fair with your resume that you noticed something about using that template.
Yes, I did. I noticed that my resume didn't stand out from anyone else in the crowd. It wasn't original, and when I went up and gave it to people, you know, it looked the same as everyone else.
So how did that make you feel?
It made me feel like I needed improvement on it, and I needed to find the resources to get me a resume that would be acceptable.
All right, so definitely we are on the right track. Objectives, templates are really challenging because they are hard to use, they don't stand out in the crowd, and they can oftentimes not be compatible with applicant tracking systems. And those applicant tracking systems are what oftentimes read your resume before human eyes do. And when you're at a career fair and they're seeing hundreds and thousands of resumes, it is hard to stand out in the crowd. The other component of putting your resume together when you're using a template is sometimes it can be hard to formulate the content, and sometimes it's putting information there that isn't actually there. So I know you had said that there was some information that you didn't have to put onto the template.
Right.
And your template included an objective. And objective statements are somewhat out of date, and especially if they state the obvious. The one objective that we saw, if we want to take a peek at your resume graphic here quickly, we'll see that your resume basically stated that you were looking to obtain a unique experience. Well, that doesn't really tell me much as an employer. I don't really know what you have to offer. So it is better off to use a summary that would be helpful in creating your document. So if we want to take a peek at what may be more beneficial to you in a professional summary, essentially we're looking at several bullet points that talk about high energy, confident professional with an infectious enthusiasm for technology. Skilled communicator with cultural sensitivity and ability to establish rapport with diverse groups and promote team cohesiveness. I want to hire you already, right?
Yes.
Highly organized and independent professional, able to accomplish projects with timeliness and creativity, and creative, resourceful, and flexible, able to adapt to changing priorities and maintain a positive attitude and strong work ethic. Well, I don't know about you, but definitely much more entertaining than looking for unique experiences. I mean, is that a part-time job at a pizza place? Is that an accounting job? I don't know what that means.
Right.
So the specific professional summary tells me a lot more about who you are and what you have to offer, and makes me want to keep reading. I love all of those things. So we are very glad that you came in to utilize our services, and now you have this beautiful polished resume. And are you getting calls for internships and interviews?
Yes, I am now getting calls, and the interviews are flowing in.
Awesome. We are so excited about that.
Thank
so
you.
Congratulations, and make sure you send your friends our way.
Thank you, I will.
When I met Verge, he came to me very frustrated. He thinks he's doing everything right with his resume, and he is, right? You came in and you met with us, we polished it up for spelling, and it looks professional. You have an amazing professional summary crafted, but you just weren't getting interviews, right?
Yes. After viewing my resume, I seen that maybe I had a little bit too much information and stuff like that. So maybe the employer didn't really know, couldn't really get the specifics out of my strengths.
So the thing about the information is that mistake number 5 is that we oftentimes miss very important key words. And those key words are important because most resumes are actually reviewed by online systems before they are reviewed by an HR manager. And there's really no magical dictionary for me to hand you and say, here's the keyword dictionary. And I really wish there were. But what you can do is actually review the job postings and use a resource called ONET Online. And ONET Online is actually operated by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, so it's very up-to-date, very accurate, and shows a lot of amazing information, which is for another TV show for another time. But it's a wonderful resource when we're trying to determine what the keywords are for your major. And you are a communication major, correct?
Yes.
So if we take a peek at the graphic for the mistake number 5 to look at keywords, this is an actual job posting, ignoring keywords. So you'll see in this graphic there are some highlighted words, there's some bold words. Basically, what we do when we look at that job posting is look for industry-specific terms. Who knew those vocabulary words your professor was going to make you learn would be critical in your career, right? So looking at the job posting and finding those keywords to identify and incorporate into your resume will help you to stand out with the applicant tracking systems. We have to remember that we're living in a decade now, in a century actually, where technology is more and more prevalent. And to use an online system, anytime you see apply online, you can safely gamble that your resume is going to be viewed by a computer before it's viewed by a human. And that's why those keywords are so important. The amazing part about this is you don't have to be an expert. We have people in our office who are experts at helping you to identify those keywords and making sure that there's places in your resume that make sense. You don't just want to list them at the top of your resume. You don't just want to insert them into random places. They really need to make sense in sentences and bullet points, because when the human does get your resume, you don't want to have random words just all over your document. So we'll help you to craft some phrases to make it make sense. So we are excited to help you navigate this process, and we want to see you employed. So be sure to use your Career Center. Take advantage of these resume resources. Like Verge did, you can email us a draft of your resume to resumes@clarion.edu. Or if you haven't quite created your draft yet, you can go to clarion.edu/resumes and take a look at the sample resumes that are online and some of the other video tutorials to help you get started in the process.